excited to hear from some different groups about the advanced academics that we have going on at MNPS to make sure that we are meeting everybody's needs and doing it in an equitable way. So, Dr. Battle, would you have somebody that you would like to go ahead and call up?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Tyler. At this time, I'm going to invite Executive Officer David Williams up to the podium to kick off our presentation around advanced academics.
Thank you, Dr. Battle. Good afternoon, Chair Tyler, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to share this important information to you this afternoon regarding advanced academics programming in our district. First thing I'm going to do is just orient you to the volume of information you have at your seats there. You have several things. The first is the agenda. Okay, and this is basically how the presentation will flow. Three basic buckets. We've got our gifted and talented presentation. We'll get into high school, early post-secondary opportunities, and then save some time for policy discussion that will also carry over into governance. And then we'll have time, we've saved about 15, 20 minutes for questions and discussion. The next thing you have in your packet there is some definitions or sort of a cheat sheet of various programs that has EduSpeak, but we'll be referring to these throughout the program. Just wanted to make sure you had that. I also mentioned the policy. Dr. Nelson, who's going to lead the presentation today, is going to give a little bit of background and context for this policy, which again will come up again later in the governance meeting scheduled for 4. Then you have this behemoth packet, which is all the slides for you to follow along, make notes, etc. And then the last thing you have is the data packet. This was sent to you on Friday afternoon, included in Dr. Battle's weekly board update. So those are the materials you have. If you want to take a second and organize yourself. We'll be happy to respond to any questions regarding any of the materials, the data packet, the presentation, or the policy discussion 4.205 later after Dr. Nelson concludes his presentation. So at this time, I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Matt Nelson. He is the Executive Director of our College and Career Readiness Department, and he'll lead the presentation this afternoon. Dr. Nelson.
Thank you, Dr. Williams, and I will echo your comments and show my appreciation to Dr. Battle, Chair Tyler, members of the school board, members of the community, and colleagues for being here today for this important discussion about advanced academics. Hopefully you'll see this as a bright spot in our district, and we can not focus on COVID for at least an hour. As Dr. Williams said, my name is Matt Nelson. I'm the Executive Director for College and Career Readiness. We are all familiar with the district's core tenets, focused outcomes, and signature initiatives. These are in place ultimately so that every student is known in our district. It's especially important as we think about preparing every student in our district for a smooth transition into college and career success. Today, although I could certainly make connections to all of the items displayed on this slide, we're going to focus on 2 of the core tenets and the 4 focused outcomes that I have highlighted here. To create and support engaging, rigorous, personalized learning experiences for all students, we have a wide range of advanced academic opportunities available to students in our district. Much of our discussion today will center around what we have done and what we must continue to do so we identify and eliminate inequities in relation to advanced academics and college and career readiness. All of us at the Support Hub have recentered our goals and our objectives around the district's core tenets and focused outcomes. So for example, when we think about growth in literacy and numeracy, we provide numerous opportunities so that our high-achieving students have room to grow academically as well. The integration of SEL competencies with academics is critical for our high-achieving students. In particular, the competencies of self-awareness and self-management enable our students to identify their own strengths, have confidence in themselves, manage their stress, set personal goals, and have self-discipline to achieve their goals. And finally, the focused outcome of transitions requires us to think about how we prepare students for each next step of their educational journey. So how are we preparing pre-K students for kindergarten, our elementary students for middle school for high school, and ultimately prepare all of our high school students for success and a smooth transition into college and career success. Here I want to call out some things that we already know and we acknowledge. There have been and continue to be disparities around participation and access to advanced academic opportunities. We have made significant progress, and we still have work to do. As with many things in education, the pandemic has and will continue to have an impact on our work. But perhaps most importantly, we know that the work centered on addressing these disparities and access demands collective commitment from all of us. So I encourage everyone that's here today to continue to advocate for educational equity. Next, I'll briefly outline the different advanced academic options at each tier. I'm going to give a short description on the following slides, but we will explore these opportunities in more depth as we continue through the presentation. Additionally, as Dr. Williams mentioned, we provided a cheat sheet, or that one-pager with definitions for easy reference. At the elementary tier, the primary focus for advanced academics is Encore and Young Scholars of Nashville, or YSN. These are pull-out classes where students complete an interdisciplinary curriculum that has been aligned to Tennessee academic standards. And these classes are taught by qualified, gifted, and talented teachers. I will explain this in more detail, but as you can see in these descriptions, the students receive the same service and the same curriculum in both Encore and YSN. And then at the elementary tier, AVID is not a class necessarily, but it provides a framework for students and educators to use so that they build strong academic habits for students that they'll need to transition into middle school and beyond. At the middle school tier, advanced academic opportunities begin to include content-related options. So here students can choose to take high school courses, and they can start that as early as 7th grade if they opt into courses such as Integrated Math 1, Physical Science, or World Language. Additionally, honors courses are offered in core content areas, and these courses are structured to include criteria and elements that have been defined by the Tennessee State Board of Education. The Encore and YSN service continues to be provided through 8th grade. And in middle school, AVID becomes a support system which encourages and empowers students to be successful in advanced, rigorous coursework. High schools can offer a wide range of advanced academics opportunities. I will clarify this again later, but it's important to note one high school will not offer every single one of these options. Rather, school leaders are empowered to identify which of these advanced academic programs best fit the needs of their student population. You've probably heard of most of these. Except for AVID and honors courses, we refer to these collectively as early post-secondary opportunities, or EPSOs. I won't spend time going over these now because we will explore each of these one at a time later in the presentation. The next slides will focus on gifted and talented education and MNPS, with particular focus on criteria and eligibility for gifted and talented services. Before we get into those specifics, I want to say that each state sets its own definition and requirements for gifted and talented education. Nationally, gifted and talented students are most often served in a general education setting, and this is true in MNPS. Encore and YSN are considered general education services intended to meet the needs of academically gifted and talented students. If it is determined through an S-team process and psychological evaluation that a student has an intellectually gifted disability and that disability has an adverse impact on his or her education, then an IEP team will convene, and that team will determine what appropriate services are needed. The next 4 slides will specifically address gifted and talented criteria and eligibility requirements through the general education process. This has 4 parts: universal consideration, aptitude testing, identification, and services. Universal consideration is the process we use to determine which students will take the aptitude test. It is the first phase of identifying students who are performing at academically higher levels. To be clear, we did not have universal consideration in the past. Back then, students in kindergarten through second grade would only be given that aptitude test if they were recommended by a teacher. Students in grades 4 through 8 would only be given the aptitude test if they met a certain score on a district benchmark assessment that the students took in the prior school year. Now we have data, map data for students in elementary and middle schools, which gives us benchmark data, and so we can start to identify students performing at high levels in all grade levels. Additionally, we have established protocols so that educators or parents can recommend students for the aptitude test should they not qualify through the MAP testing. Using all of this information, our Gifted and Talented Office created a roster of students who move on to Part 2 or aptitude testing. Through our process this spring of universal consideration, nearly 10,000 students in grades K through 7 took part in aptitude testing. Aptitude testing is straightforward. Students take a test, which in our district is the COGAT, or the Cognitive Abilities Test. The results are collected and then used as a piece of data in determining which students qualify for gifted services. In the past, we gave 2 separate test administrations using paper and pencil format. Now we test all students at the same time using an online form of COGAT. So this past spring, those 10,000 students that we tested logged into the COGAT platform in a proctored setting and completed the online aptitude test. In addition, there will be monthly opportunities for students to take the aptitude test if they are new to our district or if additional parent or educator referrals are received. Just a short time ago, we still used a traditional method of identifying students. We referred to a nationally normed cut score on the COGAT. So if a student met the cut score, he or she qualified. If the student did not meet that cut score, even if it was by just 1 point, then the student did not qualify. No other factors were taken into consideration. As I mentioned earlier, some students qualified for the intellectually gifted IEP through the exceptional education process. This is less than 2% of the gifted and talented students in our district, however. Our new eligibility criteria is more equitable and takes into consideration factors beyond just how a student performs on one single aptitude test. We'll continue to monitor and refine these processes as we continue to address existing disparity. Finally, every elementary and middle school in MNPS has an assigned gifted and talented teacher that works with students in the school who are eligible for gifted and talented services. In the past, there were approximately 30 itinerant teachers who went to every elementary and middle school once per week to provide encore classes. In 2014, we recognized the racial disparity in our encore program. So we implemented Young Scholars of Nashville to address this. At that time, the sole purpose of YSN was to provide talent development to students from underserved populations. Initially, YSN was implemented in the 10 elementary schools that had the lowest number of students who qualified for Encore. We have now increased the number of students who receive gifted and talented services. We've more than doubled the number of gifted and talented teachers that support students in every MNPS elementary and middle school. This chart shows a 10-year comparison of the racial composition of students receiving gifted and talented services in our district. For example, in 2011, of the 3,469 students who were in Encore, 20% were African American and nearly 68% were white. Whereas in 2021, of the 5,079 students receiving gifted and talented services, 28% were African American and 46.5% were white. As you can see, we have made progress. We still have work to do. Moving these numbers is not easy, but as you can see, we have not only increased access, but we have increased the diversity of the students we are serving in our district. MNPS adheres to the programming standards from the National Association for Gifted Children, NAGC, which we've been working and will continue to work diligently to meet the standard, which states, quote, "Students with identified needs represent diverse backgrounds and reflect the total student population of the district." In your packet, we've provided school-specific data showing the percent of each school's population that receives gifted and talented services. Additionally, we have compared the racial composition of each school population compared to the racial composition of each school's gifted and talented population. The information I've shared so far demonstrates how we have made progress moving toward a more ideal state for gifted and talented education in our district. And this slide shows strategies that will continue to move this work forward. First, the district will continue training all teachers on how to meet needs of high-achieving students. That happens during core instruction. As we know, gifted and talented students are not just gifted and talented for part of the day or part of the week. We will also increase awareness of the services provided through gifted and talented education. Secondly, we will track the academic growth for these students. Gifted and talented students are now flagged in Infinite Campus and in the data warehouse. Prior to this year, student participation data for gifted and talented services was stored separately, so we were not able to efficiently monitor academic growth. Third, we will continue to aggressively address issues of equity through a research practice partnership with Vanderbilt University. We now have a nationally renowned research team working alongside of us in this work. Next, we will expand services provided to schools and match the service delivery to the unique needs of schools and students. The traditional method of Encore should be considered just one way that we can meet the needs of gifted and talented students. Additionally, where there is capacity, we can expand the influence of gifted and talented teachers so that they might enhance talent development, enrichment, content acceleration, and other things for students in their school. And lastly, we propose elimination of program labels of Encore and YSN. As I mentioned earlier, the service and curriculum that Encore and YSN students receive is identical. Usually these students are in the same classroom with the same teacher. So the only difference then is how students have qualified. Moving forward with our equity-focused identification process, we could simply say all identified students receive gifted and talented service. As I wrap up this section, I will reiterate, we've taken several steps in a positive direction to ensure students' academic gifts and talents are identified and that they're recognized throughout the district. We are committed to continued improvement with a focus always on our district's core tenets, focused outcomes, and a commitment to make sure that every student is known.
Since we're going into a separate tier and a different separate focus, can we get the Encore lower level questions out before we move to the post-secondary? Because unless they truly do connect.
Let me just confer with the team, because is there any overlap
I
between
don't want to disrupt.
the two?
Thank Dr. Gentry for the question. We understand. I'm just concerned that we might run out of time getting through the content would be a consideration. We're happy to yield to the board's decision on that, though. Chair Tyler.
How much more time do you think you need for the next sections?
This section, the next section is about as long as the first, and then we have a little bit of time dedicated to the policy discussion before the governance meeting begins.
Okay, so there's not a ton of extra time. I think if it would be okay, why don't we just put a time limit and just do a short time for questions about Encore, and then when that time is up, we will move on to the next section.
Sure. Sounds good.
Okay.
I'm happy
David,
to yield a little time from the governance committee meeting if I need to. I don't think
thank
it'll
you.
take the whole hour.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank
All right,
you.
and Dr. Williams will facilitate the questions.
Okay.
Dr. Gentry, I assume you had a question?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I apologize. I still struggle with the Encore versus the YSN. If the only difference I keep hearing is underrepresented. And so it seems to be a labeling. If there's the same classroom, same teachers, only how they qualified. So I need to better understand, why would I label one student an Encore student and another school student a YSN student?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that question. And I'll let Dr. Nelson give more response, but we agree with you. If the identification process, they go through the similar process, the aptitude testing, the consideration, and they're receiving the same services by the same teacher, it's the same program, which is why we are proposing to eliminate those labels. I think YSN, instituted in 2014, has done a lot, as Dr. Nelson showed, to close the gap in terms of increasing participation and diversifying the demographic of students participating. But that program may have well run its course, and now we're in a position where we have a more robust identification process, and we're able to provide identical services with more teachers. Therefore, there should be no further distinction between the programs.
And to further clarify, we've made that decision to make them one
Yes.
program.
Yes, ma'am.
And so can you say a little bit about the protocols that a parent or a teacher would go through to get a student? So I believe my student should be an Encore student.
Yes, ma'am. If they reach out to the school or the teacher, and then they can then start an S team and have that referral go through the process, then they can be considered that way. Dr. Nelson, do you want to add anything specific to that?
We're currently developing the protocols in partnership with our research practice partnership with Vanderbilt. So there is a form that will be accessible to any teacher in the district this spring. Any teacher in the district will be able to consider the students who are not already in the Gifted and Talented program and who do not qualify automatically based on their MAP results. So there might be in each classroom a set of 15 kids, for example, that we're asking each teacher to go through and consider them one at a time, just as they would through the data process for MTSS, for example. Really considering each student individually. And then there is a form that they will fill out where they will compare that student's characteristics on a scale as compared to their peers.
Using the matrix.
What's that?
Using that matrix
Yeah.
that you referred to. And my last question, so to the slide, I think it's labeled 15 here, GATE participation, 2011 versus 2021. I see there has been great movement and big, significant movement in those numbers. At a high level, if you were to rattle off, what are the barriers to closing the equity gap? What would you say?
Well, as Dr. Nelson, continue to refine our processes. We look at that every year. Another thing that we've instituted now is we have a data analyst and we have a robust dashboard. The inclusion of the equity matrix that we have instituted, the YSN, as we said, being combined and just serving a robust program that way. I also think that students that we typically identify as being on the wrong side of the gap have the most to gain from higher quality in Tier 1 instructional materials. So when we talk about preparation for literacy and math, institution of high quality instructional materials, high quality teaching and learning gives every kid the opportunity to be more successful in accessing these programs. So those are some of the things that I would do. The high dosage tutoring, all the things that we're doing, we want to make sure every kid has the opportunity to access the program and there shouldn't be any barrier. Another thing that we need to continue to refine is our communication process to the families. So they make sure aware of the opportunities that they're afforded and they know how to access them.
Okay. That was actually going to be one of my questions about how do our families know that they're allowed to ask? Are they, I know that in the past it's kind of been passed down from current families to new families to say you should ask to get your kid tested. But in a school where that's not the culture, how are those parents made aware of their rights?
Yeah, we certainly have a lot of robust information on the MNPS website. And I know that's just one thing that's there, but that's there for everyone to access at any time. But again, I think we could certainly tighten up information that flows from the schools to the families directly, because we know a lot of times families pay attention to their principal in their schools. So equipping them with information that's easy to kind of take and share with the schools, whether that's through a call out or information they email or mail home, I think is something we could certainly improve on.
And then let me ask one more thing and then I'll let you go. I also wanted to say, so I used to teach in the Encore program, and I just wanted to, when I taught, we had our own principal that was separate. and we were based out of Robertson Academy, and we had our own budget. And since then, our teachers have been moved into the schools and are subject to the school-based budgeting. And in some ways, that has made a lot of positive changes, and in some ways, it has created larger disparities. So how can we ensure that all of the programs that we're offering our students in Encore or YSN, or if we're going to get rid of that label, and however we do it, how can we ensure that there is a base level that is the same in all schools, regardless of what the school-based budgeting decisions are made? I also know that there's a lot of issues with space. Some teachers are still teaching on a stage. They don't have places to lock up their materials. They don't have places to set up an area that they can then leave up until the class comes back again. So that also plays into disparities in the ability to provide the same type of instruction in 2 different settings. So I'll let you guys address that, and then we can maybe take another couple minutes.
I'll address the SBB question first, because those are positions that are a part of the budget. So those are, unless a principal or a school team is choosing to go above and beyond, those are what we would call a non-negotiable in a budget. So based upon the student population is there, that is a position that will exist in every school. So that has been established. We've actually gone back to review our process to make sure that that's happening in an equitable manner. A school could choose to go above and beyond that, but our response has been, if the demand and need is there, we will provide that resource to all of our students in all of our schools. So I just want to make sure we're clear on that is a non-negotiable budget-wise for all of our schools, all of our elementary schools with regards to Encore and YSN.
Yes, ma'am. All elementary and middle schools, they are afforded, it's a requirement, non-negotiable in the SBB, as Dr. Battle said. And so again, we tailor that and customize that to the populations that the kids serve. As Dr. Battle said, what we do at the support hub level is look across to ensure that anyone who's supporting should support no more than 2 schools. That would be ideal, right? So they may spend Monday in one school and Tuesday in a different school, or however the principals work with the schedule. But we don't want gifted and talented teachers serving more than 2 schools, if at all possible. So what we do is try to work to match them and work with principals who wish, if you're given, say, a 0.6 allocation and you want to make that full, then the principals have the ability to do that, make it a full-time position through their SBB process. And all of that funnels up again through the executive directors for approval.
And what kind of training do our principals get so that they understand the importance of these programs to know whether or not that is something that they would want to prioritize in their school-based budgeting?
Yeah, that's an ongoing need. It's a part of the SBB process. So all that's laid down in the principal guidance document that they get, and they go over that every year so they know where the non-negotiables are. They know where they have flexibility. So that process, they're reminded every single year.
And can you just briefly touch on our MTSS process and the training for our staff with regards to that and all the programming opportunities that are part of the MTSS response?
Yes, ma'am. Through MTSS, again, the MTSS requirements are part of the principal guidance document they get every year. But throughout the year, this year, for example, we have 5 MTSS meetings where schools understand the data that's available to them, how to access that, and how to go through a database decision-making process to make those the best decisions for their students. And those are required for school leadership teams to attend with their principals. So they will be at 5 this year across the year.
Ms. Elrod, did you want to ask a question?
I have some quick questions. Do we have a term for what we were going to be calling, now that we're combining the 2 conversations of Encore and Young Scholars? Do we have a new term for that? Is it just GATE? Is that what we're just calling?
Yes, ma'am. Gifted and talented education. So the students who are identified to be served will receive gifted and talented services.
Okay. So the students that are identified through GATE, no matter what their circumstances or how they've been identified, once they're identified, let's say they're identified in kindergarten and they're now able to get services through 8th grade, do they have to requalify at any time?
Throughout those 8 years, 8,
Yes.
9 years? I don't.
Not currently.
No, ma'am. Not
Okay.
currently, no, ma'am.
So they can be identified at any time and still receive those services no matter what?
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then just real quick, just from my understanding from when I used to teach there, so the Young Scholars of Nashville program was actually supposed to be a model, not necessarily a program. And it was really supposed to be there to track our students who are more disadvantaged, to find out if we provide these extra services, not only will they be able to test into our gifted program later, but then also how do they fare in middle and high school as far as the classes that they take. Are they in advanced academics classes in high school? Are they taking AP classes? So the point of the program was not to separate the two groups and say that you're not ever part of Encore. The point of the program was to provide us data points to see how we're serving these students. So if we're getting rid of that designation, how are we tracking whether or not these students' needs are being met and if they're being pushed forward? Are we still tracking that? Because even if they qualified for Encore as part of the YSN program, they stayed in the YSN class because we're tracking how they go. Because again, like you said, they're receiving the same services. So the class wouldn't change based on whether or not they qualified. The class is still the same class as Encore. The point of the separate designation was for us to be able to have the data to see how we're supporting these students and to see what kind of opportunities we're giving them in the future and whether or not they're taking advantage of it and we're being able to push them forward towards those things.
Yes, ma'am. I think it's a fantastic question. We do have access to all the data that would allow us to do that analysis. We haven't done it as of yet. As Dr. Nelson said, with YSN being instituted in 2014, now we're 6-7 years later, we should be able to see how those students fared in middle school, honors classes, academic magnet schools, as well as in the high school, early post-secondary opportunities, qualifying for academic magnets. So we can certainly do that analysis. We just haven't done it to date.
Okay.
Great question.
Would you be interested in that for any student?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
I'm not a fan of the YSN designation. Again, my understanding only being that they were majority minority students. And so, again, once you label different, you treat different. You see different. I don't care how unbiased you think you may or may not be. So I appreciate getting rid of the designation, and I think any student that we've identified as gifted and talented, we have those expectations for all of them.
Right.
That they will go on, they will pursue post-secondary opportunities, they'll leverage those post-secondary opportunities in high school as well. So thank you very much for
Yes,
that.
ma'am. Thanks,
I
Dr.
appreciate
Gentry.
it.
And I heard your timer go off a few minutes ago. Ms. Masters, you had it?
I just,
Okay.
yes to what Sharon said. I'm so happy about the elimination of those two labels and just starting fresh with something new. I love that. But my question was, with the offering of honors courses in middle school, is it at the discretion of individual school leaders whether or not they're going to offer those programs, or is that a given at every school?
So generally speaking, the middle school principals have the autonomy to decide how many, they offer. So starting in 6th grade, they have the opportunity to offer honors ELA and honors mathematics, same in 7th grade. When you get to 8th grade, as Dr. Nelson mentioned, you have your integrated math 1, physical science, and world language, and those can all count for high school credit. They will be permanently on the transcript, and the GPA sort of kicks in. But there is very specific guidance that the Curriculum Instruction Department, as well as the middle school executive directors, have co-developed to give, very similar to what we shared here with identification, that it's on multiple measures. It's not should not ever be you test in or you test out. Should be multiple factors considered: student interest, parent interest, aptitude, interest for the student, what they would like to do going into high school and then and beyond. So looking at multiple measures, but we again try to stay away, if at all possible, from any sort of fixed objective cut score being a qualifying criteria for their ability to access those programs. But again, by and large, our middle schools, and we support them in making sure those opportunities are available at all schools.
So if a family is at a middle school where there are not those options, what avenues do they have to be able to opt in?
So there's a couple of things that we can provide. So let's say that you're at a school and there may be a handful of students that are interested, in taking honors. Let's just say math, right, in 8th grade. There's what's called contracted honors, where there's a contract and an agreement between the family, the student, and the teacher that those students are going to do above and beyond, and they can meet the honors criteria that's laid out by the State Board of Education to satisfy that being in an honors class. That's one option. So again, it's sort of a class within a class. They have the same general ed curriculum, but students who have a contract for honors are asked and expected to do more. We also work with virtual school. So if I have a few students who want to take that integrated math 1, they can take it through the virtual school as well. And that's something that we have done in the past several years and continue to do. So there are other opportunities for students to request those classes, and we'll provide a way for them to take them.
Thank you.
One quick question. So I don't see broken out here which middle schools offer high school credits in 8th grade and how that is broken out in terms of number of courses and who's enrolling in those courses?
Yeah, we can get that.
Okay.
Part of this was, there's so much information to
I
share.
totally get it.
and We're
I'm
more
just
than happy
curious.
to,
That's a huge
Yeah,
sort of step.
that is a
for
huge
kids.
thing.
Okay,
Yes.
thank
more than
you.
happy to provide that.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
yeah, I appreciate you asking that. That was going to be one of my questions. And then finally, the only other question I have before I know we have to move on is, so the data that we have from the previous YSN programs, I love moving those along. Did we succeed in having those students go into more AP classes, go into more honor classes? Is this a program that has been successful on the books? Have we been able to prove it?
Right, as I said, that's something that we'll have to dig into the data more to give a clear answer. I would hope so, and again, seeing the matriculation patterns of courses and opportunities they make themselves in, that's something that we'll have to take a close look at. And as Dr. Gentry said, I think we should be doing that for all students in all programs.
So I would only challenge us to be very cautious that if the data comes back and it shows that these students who were labeled YSN students did not move on in middle school and high school, I would offer, as now a employee in DEI, that part of the YSN designation may have contributed to that. Right? Again, as unbiased as we love to believe we are, when we send a child to another environment with a label, we have to understand that there is some bias that comes up as associated with that. So to me, if the data does it, if it pans out, that's great. If it doesn't, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. For me.
Okay, and then just one more question. Our virtual students at our MNPS virtual school, can they access Encore, even though it's its own separate school? Are they also given a designation for one Encore teacher, the way the other brick and mortar schools are?
Not right now.
Not right now. Okay, is that something that we are considering changing now that we've expanded our virtual school? I know this is new, so I can understand why we would lag with that, but I think that is something we should consider if that is the way we're going to continue.
Go ahead, Dr. Bellam, and I'll respond.
Certainly appreciate the suggestion, and looking at this year, our enrollment did about triple in the virtual school, which going into the next years, we're certainly going to watch closely and see if it maintains at that. Virtual school has been very successful in the past, offering a variety of advanced academics. Whether or not we continue to keep 4th and 5th grade, which were new this year, and those kind of offerings are things that we're going to have to put on the table and discuss as we move through what makes the most sense, what choices to offer our families. And certainly as we look to expand that, you always want to balance the offerings of saying this is a distinct and separate school and you're signing up for a different kind of experience, which sometimes means you don't get access to all those opportunities. You have to access them different ways, and balance that with the ability to plug them in to other schools, which right now we do for athletics, we do for a variety of other things. So it's certainly a possibility. It's not one that we offer right now. Just some logistics we need to work through as we determine how many more families want to continue to take that opportunity and future expansion and things like that.
Okay. All right. Well,
I was going to ask Dr. Nelson to do it, but I'll call your attention to one other question. Ms. Elrod, you had asked a question earlier about a child having to requalify. I just want to call attention that the vast majority of children will not have to. However, there's a very small percentage of children that qualify through IDEA as an intellectual disability of giftedness. Those students through federal law have to be reevaluated every 3 years. So a student that qualifies because of that would go through the reeval process. Oftentimes that process leads to the continued identification, and even if it didn't, they could still qualify through other criteria, but I do want to call attention that those students do have to be reevaluated every 3 years per federal law. Great, thanks.
Thanks, Mason.
all right, well, we'll let you guys move on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So at this point, we'll move away from the gifted and talented services that are provided to elementary and middle school students, and I'll ask you to shift your focus to opportunities in advanced academics available to our high school students. I mentioned earlier that MNPS offers a wide range of early post-secondary opportunities, or these EPSOs, in our high schools. To be clear, we do not require schools to adopt any combination of EPSOs. Rather, as referenced in one of our district's core tenets, we equip and empower our leaders to develop programs that best meet the needs of their population. So as a support hub, we are available to align programs and to provide the tools, resources, and information that school leaders need to make informed decisions. This graphic provided by the Tennessee Department of Education shows all EPSOs available across the state of Tennessee. How this information is displayed signifies an important point. All EPSOs, every single piece of the puzzle, are considered valuable, rigorous, and good opportunities for students. You do not see a hierarchy of EPSOs that are top tier compared to bottom tier EPSOs. And the Tennessee Department of Education challenges school districts to develop a portfolio of early post-secondary opportunities to ensure accessibility for all students. In MNPS, each piece of this puzzle, every single early post-secondary opportunity, is available in at least some of our high schools, except for the CLEP, or the College Level Examination Program. We are exploring the possibility of adding CLEP as an option for our students soon. I've placed AVID here separately because AVID is not considered an EPSO. It is, however, an integral system currently used in several of our schools to provide supports and structures so students feel confident taking rigorous coursework. AVID stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. AVID empowers students to have the confidence and the skills they need to pursue their chosen post-secondary path. The AVID College and Career Readiness Framework, which is displayed in the triangle, provides a foundation and a roadmap for much of our work. I want to draw particular attention to the 4 key ideas at the base of that triangle. According to AVID, these are the key things that every educator, and I'll add that every adult, must do to ensure students have what they need to be successful. These ideas, insisting on rigor for all students, breaking down barriers for all students, aligning our work to prepare students, and ultimately advocating for all students. These ideas are so critical, and this is our commitment to ensure every student is known. At the bottom of the slide, you can see which high schools currently have AVID, and several middle schools also have AVID. You'll see Maplewood highlighted in yellow. That's because all schools in the Maplewood cluster, elementary, middle, and high, have adopted AVID starting this year. The next several slides will introduce each of the early post-secondary opportunities offered in our district one at a time. This slide focuses on advanced placement. We have students enrolled in AP courses at every single MNPS high school. This is referenced at the bottom of the slide where you see all schools shaded in blue. The top graph displays the percentage of students by race in the overall district high school population. So for example, shaded in black, you'll see 43.6% of the high school population is African American. This is compared to the percentage of students by race currently enrolled in the advanced placement. Shaded in orange, for example, you see 32% of students taking at least one AP course are African American. You'll notice in the subsequent slides as we go through each of the EPSOs that those shaded black bars will not change because that represents the entire high school population, which doesn't change, of course, whereas the shaded orange bars will change to display the racial demographics for each particular EPSO we look at. The data displayed here also represent current 21-22 enrollments, and they only account for students at the schools that are listed on the bottom of the slide. So charter schools and most of the non-traditional schools are not included. In the middle of the slide, you can see how students might be able to take advantage of advanced placement courses. By earning qualifying scores on the AP exams, students could transfer those scores to university credit, which of course saves tuition and money associated with college costs. Here I've highlighted a particular area of focus that will move our work forward as related to this particular EPSO. Tennessee AP Access for All is an initiative hopefully you may have heard about by now. This is where students in any metro school can take advantage of any of the 14 available AP courses at no cost. This is an opportunity specifically for students whose school may not offer certain AP courses, or for students who might have conflicts with when AP courses are scheduled. This program is funded through a grant with the Tennessee Department of Education, and we are encouraging schools to take advantage of this opportunity. And we know this is guaranteed through at least 2023, at which point the state is exploring sustainability options. Following the same pattern here, the slide focuses on our next EPSO, which is Cambridge, the Advanced International Certificate of Education, or ACE. The bar graphs at top display the Cambridge ACE population compared to the overall high school population. Again, the shaded bars in black remain consistent, but the shaded orange bars now show the racial demographics for students in the Cambridge program. Students at schools that offer the Cambridge program may either take individual courses, similar how they would select AP courses, or students can take a series of courses and exams where they are attempting to earn enough points that would qualify them for a Cambridge ACE diploma. While we are still collecting 2021 assessment data, we know that 18 students earned the full Cambridge diploma in 2021. We're very proud of those students. Cambridge students can save quite a bit of money also on college tuition with passing scores on the exams, and some post-secondary institutions grant full scholarships to students that earn the Cambridge diploma. Cambridge is currently offered at the 4 high schools shaded in blue. Schools do go through an authorization process in order to offer Cambridge coursework. Cambridge schools recently have removed a selective admissions process. Now all students are eligible to participate in as many Cambridge courses as they would like. Students can complete Cambridge courses, including the coursework making them eligible for the Cambridge ACE diploma in any of the MNPS Academy pathways. I'll note here also that students are not limited to just Cambridge, for example. If a student is attempting to complete the requirements for the Cambridge diploma, he or she might also take EPSOs that are available at the school, such as dual enrollment, dual credit, or even additional AP courses. Here you see the same information displayed for dual credit. The bars here show that the shaded orange bars for dual credit more closely match the district's overall population. Dual credit also allows students the chance to earn early college credits and save tuition money. Through dual credit, students must take and pass a challenge exam that is linked to particular course standards. College credit is granted by the post-secondary institution, and students also earn high school credit. For example, as part of a CTE pathway, students might take a course on website design foundations, which covers Tennessee state standards, but is also aligned to post-secondary standards. At the end of that course, students would take a college level exam, and if they scored a certain level, they earn the college credit. Students in every MNPS high school except for early college high school are enrolled currently in dual credit courses. At early college high school, the focus is on dual enrollment. For dual credit, MNPS is pursuing additional post-secondary partner institutions in order to strengthen our data sharing agreements and memorandums of understanding. We want to be sure that we're providing students the best opportunity and the best guidance so they make the right decisions. Additionally, we hope to take advantage of statewide dual credit opportunities. There are currently 11 options available through statewide dual credit. These include American history, probability and statistics, sociology, criminal justice, just to name a few. Dual enrollment is similar to dual credit. The main difference here is that dual enrollment students are required to complete the admissions process for a post-secondary institution. So they thus become dually enrolled in both college and in high school. Students who successfully complete a dual enrollment course are simultaneously awarded grades and credits at both post-secondary institution and at the high school. So after a student completes their first dual enrollment course, he or she then has transcripted college credit and a college GPA. For example, a student might choose to participate in dual enrollment English Composition 1 and 2 through Nashville State Community College. They would take these dual enrollment courses in place of English 3 and English 4, which are high school graduation requirements. If both courses are successfully completed, then the student will have satisfied both 2 years of high school English, and they will have earned 6 college credit hours. Early College High School and Whites Creek High School are highlighted in yellow because both schools will offer students the comprehensive early college model. The early college model allows students the opportunity to complete enough dual enrollment courses and earn 2 full years worth of college credit. Some students are even able to complete the requirements for an associate's degree while they are still in high school. This is an opportunity which empowers students who might not otherwise see college as a possibility, and it saves these students thousands of dollars in college tuition. Additionally, MNPS has partnered with Nashville State Community College through the Better Together initiative. This launched in 2020. This partnership aims to remove roadblocks along the path from high school to post-secondary in order to increase college access and college completion among Nashville's students. Industry credentials are another opportunity for students. Here, students earn credentials directly connected to their career academy. This makes them marketable for entry into the job market or a post-secondary program. You can see students are able to complete industry credentials at most of our high schools, shaded in blue at the bottom. Industry credentials are available to students across all of the academies and pathways. For example, students can earn credentials in digital arts and design, nursing services, office management, automotive maintenance, and others, just to name a few. Students can earn stackable credentials, making them even more marketable. These credentials range from entry level to more advanced. For example, a student might earn their OSHA credential, which is a common entry-level one, in the 10th grade, and then they can stack additional credentials on top of that as they move throughout the academy pathway. Finally, here you see information about the International Baccalaureate program. Similar to AP and ACE, students can choose to take individual courses in IB, or they can attempt to complete the requirements for an internationally recognized IB diploma. IB exam scores can substitute for college credit and tuition savings, and additionally, students can earn the IB diploma. If they earn the IB diploma, may be eligible for a full scholarship at certain institutions. International Baccalaureate is offered currently at the 4 schools highlighted in blue. Like Cambridge, schools must go through an authorization process to offer IB. And East Nashville is highlighted in yellow because we're very proud that they successfully completed the 2-year authorization process and have begun offering IB courses this fall. MNPS has introduced the IB career-related program in some schools, which gives students more opportunity to align IB coursework to their career pathway interests and requirements. For example, a student in the Academy of Law might enhance their career interests and pathway requirements by taking IB History of Americas or IB English and Literature. As you can see, the early post-secondary opportunities provided in our district are varied and wide-ranging. This gives each student the ability to personalize his or her academic path with rigorous coursework and the chance to earn college credit, to save money on tuition, and to stand out in the college application process. Ideally, all MNPS students will have completed a combination of these early post-secondary opportunities by the time they graduate from high school. Although specific initiatives have been stated and linked to each particular EPSO, there are also some large-scale initiatives and projects that span across all of them. First, we are examining the master schedule process and the course registration process. This means that we will have individual conversations with each school leadership team about what EPSOs they are currently offering, how students are made aware of the offerings, and then the steps that they can take to ensure more students have access to more EPSOs. School leaders will be asked to set this as one of their priorities moving forward. Second, MNPS is the recipient of a large 5-year grant called New Skills Ready. This grant aims to create more robust school-to-work and school-to-college opportunities, transitions, and supports. We have great opportunity in Nashville to partner with our local businesses and our local industries and be proactive about preparing our future workforce. This includes giving more students the opportunity to participate in work-based learning, which is where students earn high school credit while they also are working a job and earning a paycheck during the school day. Through New Skills Ready, we have also had the ability to hire additional staff to support this work. This includes 4 school-based college and career readiness coaches who directly support students at Whites Creek, Maplewood, Pearl Cone, and Overton High Schools. Next, like our Gifted and Talented partnership, we have begun a research partnership with Vanderbilt to examine equitable access to advanced academic coursework, as well as which factors contribute to student success. MNPS Reimagined has an academic focus centered on developing cluster identity and making sure there is equity of resources. In other words, clusters are working together to co-create and define academic pathways and programs. And we at the Support Hub are examining how we can equitably fund and best provide resources for successful programs. Again, a focus on data guides our work. Our goal is to make data easily accessible and transparent. For example, students and families should be able to see all available data in order to set their personalized post-secondary plans and to monitor progress towards meeting their goals. Additionally, the district's equity framework and matrix gives us all a new lens through which we examine these issues. And last, through an investment in high-quality instructional materials, we must prepare students. We are preparing students not only for rigor of advanced coursework, but also for post-secondary success. We must insist on rigor for all students, beginning as early as possible. I've left information here for criteria and eligibility for EPSOs here at the end, because you will be discussing and voting on a new policy in the governance committee meeting which follows. For the past several years, MNPS has primarily maintained an open access philosophy for advanced academics. This means any student who is willing to and able to try an advanced course was given the opportunity to enroll. This past spring, a bill was signed into law requiring local school boards to develop and adopt a policy that establishes criteria for enrollment of students into advanced courses in grades 7 through 12. At the time this bill was being discussed, MNPS expressed concern. We were worried that such a bill might have unintended consequences, either of automatically excluding some students from participation or signaling to students that they may not be academically strong enough to be successful in advanced academics. The law was amended to allow local districts to have the opportunity to add criteria such as student self-selection or interest. However, objective criteria, including TCAP scores and grades, still must be included in the policy. Therefore, up for discussion is a policy proposal. We have hopefully worded this in a way that addresses both the legislative requirements, but also makes room for our district philosophy, which is centered around open access and inclusive access for students for advanced academics. As we're centering our thoughts around the new school year, I ask all of us to continue these discussions with an intense focus on equity, to make a commitment to close opportunity gaps when we see them, to consider what additional supports can be provided, and to take collective responsibility in relation to this work. These priorities are rooted in the district's core tenets and ensure that every student will be known. I really appreciate your time, your passion, your energy around this work, your dedication to the students, the families, and educators in MNPS. I thank you in advance for your support in this work. In closing, I hope that you continue to advocate for local control of academic programs, including advanced academics, and I ask for continued support funding our robust portfolio of advanced academics in the district. So at this time, Chair Tyler, I turn it back over to you to facilitate questions.
Thank you. I just want to go ahead and make a note that Board Member Pooper-Walker was gracious enough to let us go on until 4:15, and then we'll move over to governance at that time. So I guess the first thing I wanted to ask before I open up the floor is, based on the Vanderbilt Research Project, where we're kind of exploring those factors that are contributing to equitable access, when can we expect to hear some information about that? How long, is it something that has been ongoing, or is it something we're just starting?
Just starting.
Okay, and then is there a timeline for when we can expect check-ins, or is that, any idea?
Yeah, probably, Dr. Nelson said probably about a year. We've
Okay.
just begun initial conversations, just a handful preliminarily to understand the data, right, and understand sort of our approach, their approach, and just figuring out how to work together.
Okay, thank you. I think that's really important. And then I think you mentioned it, and I just want to, again, emphasize, these are some fabulous, wonderful things that we have for our students. But if they don't know about them, they can't take advantage of them. So you've talked a little bit about making sure that people know about them, and I just want to, again, encourage us to make sure that we're exploring every option to make sure all of our families, regardless of language barriers or location or the ability to get in touch with them, that they have access to the information so that their students can take advantage of this. All right, and then I'll open up the floor if anybody has questions. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, thank you very much for this. My first question is around the dual credit or the dual enrollment. I know that we partner with Nashville State, and so my first, I think, statement, because I think I know this is true, that all of those courses will transfer to any school in the state.
For dual enrollment.
Yes.
Public schools, TBR schools, Tennessee
State,
Board of
TBR,
Regents.
right,
Yes.
gotcha. And so the mapping of those courses to a different institution, that just happens at the time that the student applies and their transcript gets evaluated. We don't have any formal agreements with other institutions to accept those courses.
So if I understand your question correctly, we have our partnership institutions here in Nashville, and if they're a part of TBR, those
Correct.
transcripts will,
Yeah, so other schools, other than those.
right. I know we have a partnership with Austin P. Outside of
So
that,
those are all state schools.
Right,
State
right.
public schools, I know we're good.
Right.
So if I decided I wanted to attend a Belmont, do we have an agreement with Belmont to accept those courses? So I'm thinking in terms of like a 3-2 program at institutions that have partnerships with other schools. And so if I did my 3 years at Xavier University, we have a formal agreement with Georgia Tech. So my pre-engineering courses are accepted by Georgia Tech because it's a formal MOU.
Right.
Do we have any other
Right.
agreements with other
Not that I'm
schools?
aware of. Dr.
Okay.
Nelson, are you aware of any specific?
No, your understanding is correct. It would be done at the time that the
Time of the
transcripts are evaluated, similarly to how AP scores are evaluated. Not every institution accepts those scores the same way.
Sure. And so my second question, I think it's my last one, is on the policy recommendation, which I know we're going to get into governance. I don't know if you're a part of that meeting, but as I go into that meeting, they all seem the same. Am I reading this correct? Everything's the same. And so a grade of 85 or higher and/or TCAP score of on track or mastery in the preceding academic course, which we know that latter, the data does not look good for underrepresented populations of students within our district. Well, they're highly represented, but because there are a lot of us, but for our minority students, students of color, that number doesn't look good. So the and/or, I think, works in to help to deal with that, but is the and viewed higher than the or?
No, ma'am, and actually, we don't see necessarily either being higher than the other. As Dr. Nelson said, the statute requires us to adopt a policy that includes both TCAP and grade criteria. So that's why they're included there. So, but if you look up at, say, line 4, these standards listed below shall serve as guidance and not be considered as limitations.
Gotcha.
So we have to include something, but
Gotcha.
even though these are included here, we don't see those as limiting at all.
And so I would just go ahead and request a follow-up to this meeting, because what we didn't get an opportunity to see and talk about are the outcomes by populations of students. So I think that's a big concern as well, is what's available, but how are our students of color faring when it comes to enrolling in the courses, actually sitting for the exam, and what their scores are at the outset of that.
Right.
I know that's a whole nother big data bucket, so I just want to ask that we do a follow-up sooner than later to
Yes.
this discussion.
A lot of that information you'll find in the data packet that we sent you. We know it's page and page. We try to get down to the school level by program and demographic, including participation and success.
And I'm just asking that it be a more open discussion so
Sure.
that people
We can dig
who are
into that more.
interested. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ms. Pupa-Walker?
I'll talk about the policy when we go to governance, but I do want to say, first of all, I celebrate the transparency here. It's not easy to look at these disparities. Even if they've improved, they're still alarming at every school, on every program, except for a couple of exceptions to that rule. And so I just want to make sure that we're naming that there are disparities by race here, and probably by income. And so you have to name it to fix it. And so we have to be really intentional about using our community partners. And I think a lot of it really boils, and this is as a former teacher, is about assumptions that we make about which students belong in advanced coursework and which students do not belong, and which students can succeed and which cannot. And so accountability is important. The state has placed an accountability metric on us for EPSOs. That's the reason for a lot of why districts are now beefing up EPSOs. I mean, it's the right thing to do. But I do think that we need to know how kids are performing in those classes, but that should not limit who gets in. If there's, so I think it's very important to know how kids are, who's scoring, who's passing AP tests, who's getting industry credentials. But when we start to shine a light on that, I don't want our principals and our schools to feel like they should limit enrollment because of the pass rates. So it's very important that we do not tie that pass rate to, all of a sudden blaming and shaming. And so continuing with that transparency is so important. Making it accessible across every school in this district is really, really important. And what I didn't see in all of those strategies that you listed, including like that one of those last slides, really was around the teacher training on mindset, right? And on how do we help teachers recognize implicit bias when they tap a kid. You should be in honors. I'm going to nominate you for X, Y, and Z. I think we need to really be very intentional about that. And so I'd love to see that named here as part of a strategy to increase access. So thank you so much.
I agree with you. That's good comments. Ms. Masters?
That Jeannie led into my question. With the portion I see here about equitable access and training general education teachers, is there some implicit bias training baked into that to help them identify students without sort of?
I'll let Dr. Nelson talk about the specifics, but a lot of the training on implicit bias and some of the things that Ms. Walker does come out of our Student Support Services division. So we certainly work together with them, but that is certainly a pathway of professional development that all teachers have access to. But in terms of that specific equitable access that Dr. Nelson's been involved in, I'll let him speak to.
Yeah, I'll just echo what Dr. Williams said. So we need to be intentional about the partnership we have with Mr. Hughes in that Office of Equity and make sure that their voice is at the table when we have these discussions, because we can be aware, but we're not necessarily the experts, and we need all voices represented. So yes.
And then also and I'm sorry, I was like 15 minutes late. Maybe I missed this. Where do academic magnets fit in with all of this about equitable access and whatnot?
Like our
Is that a question for a different department?
Yeah. Academic lottery schools, that would be probably an entire other presentation and deep dive that we would need to do.
I would love to see that as a conversation, especially around the equitable access issue.
Sure, agreed. Thank you.
They were represented in your, in the advanced academic programming and in the data packet. So they do offer several of the advanced academic programs.
I know they do. I guess I'm thinking more about just along the lines of serving all students to maybe take this deep a dive into what the requirements are to enroll in an academic magnet and how that sort of fits into the full picture of what we're trying to do as a district.
But just one thing, but I would almost offer up, and I may be jumping the gun here, that if we execute all of this with fidelity, magnets become a moot point.
Right.
Because I've got that same level of rigor, I've got that same set of expectations, I've got the same criteria if you look at the policy. So it becomes moot. And like I've said for years, we're just going to name every school such and such magnet, and everybody will be happy. But if you have the right expectations of students, it doesn't matter what label you put on the building. And we've got to change. That's a culture shift that we've got to get away from. We've got to stop elevating magnets as the goal for every student, and we got to start elevating high expectations, rigor, and dealing with the biases that exist, that exist, so that students don't believe they have to be in a school with a particular label to get the same opportunities and the same academic rigor that's offered at those institutions.
Yes. Yes.
That's right.
Yes. A million times. I've said many times, every school should be an academic magnet. That's literally what we're here to do.
Change the name.
Okay, Mr. Little, we're running off on our time, so you can wrap us up with your questions.
Okay, perfect. Yep, and I'm sorry for being tardy to the party, just childcare issues, but just me looking at the headline and me having this thick packet, definitely want to dig in. But I just see some things that I really cared about that you guys like. Pathways aligned to high demand workforce. So I just want to say thank you. I look forward to reading it. And if I have questions, I'll follow up. And again, I apologize for being tardy, but this looks really good.
Thank you, Mr. Little. We're glad you're here.
Yes, sir.
I have one last question before we end, and it is, do we have any reciprocal agreements with industries where students are guaranteed an apprenticeship after they graduate? I know we used to have one with electrical engineering, but I don't think we do that anymore.
We've got Jennifer Bell. She's our director of the Academies in Nashville and CTE to provide a quick response for you.
Thank you. Yes, we do.
Great.
And something we're really excited about with one of our priorities in engaging our partners back into our buildings this year is we've already been working on some additional apprenticeships for this year through our work-based learning and also through multiple of our industries that we'll see starting in the spring.
Great. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. And we've hit our time, so I'm going to go ahead and conclude this committee meeting, and I appreciate your time. I know that was a lot of information to provide us in a short amount of time, but thank you for covering it. And I do agree that we need some follow-up on a couple of things that just we haven't had time to go into.
And as well as having Ms. Jennifer present as well.
Yes.
Because we have all these conversations about trade schools and workforce development and all kinds of other randomness. And I don't think people are aware of the great things that are happening
yes.
through our academies, the certifications and the partnerships that our students have the ability to take advantage of. So I look forward to you being able to tell that part of the story about all of the wonderful things and opportunities that we provide for our students here in MNPS.
Yes, because many of those programs are not new, and they have been around for years and years and have been putting out wonderful people. So with that, we are done. Ms. Pooper Walker, can you move us along to governance?
Calling this governance meeting to order.